Hi Taurus, welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for November 2019. This month we're looking at some pretty serious Mercury retrograde activity in the sign opposite yours, Scorpio. And we're going to also look at some relationship activity with Venus and Mars and the Sun, and check out the lunations, one of which is also going to very much affect your sign. Hey Julia, what's up with Venus this month for Taurus?
Ooh, well, hey, Taurus. Venus being that wonderful planet of relationships, things that you care very much about, Taurus. Also, pleasure. She's going to, on the very first day of the month, enter into your 8th house when she goes into the sign of Sagittarius. So the 8th house, it has a lot to deal with shared resources of all kind. It's also the house of transformation, the house of intimacy. So when that planet of pleasure goes into this arena of life, you could actually be really deepening the intimate bonds with your partner if you're already attached. And then Venus is going to be entering into your 9th house, and that's a much, much different feel. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot less intense. You know, while she's in the 8th house, you might be having some kind of heavy conversations, which could have the result of increasing the amount of bonding and intimacy you have. But then after November 25th, when she goes into the 9th house, which is Jupiter's house, house of fun, house of expansion, house of adventure, you're going to want to go out of your home in order to socialize. Maybe even go on a trip, engage in some consciousness expanding activities like going to lectures, learning something new, or if you're partnered, having fun with your boo out in the world, off on an adventure. And then I'd also like to talk about Mars this month too. Mars is going to start the month in the sign of Libra, which is your 6th house. And the 6th house has a lot to do with the workplace, the everyday job, as well as a lot to do with health and routine. So Mars is the planet of activity. So coming into this house, you could be inspired to sort of start a new health routine. Also, because Mars can have some edgy aspects to it as well. It can sometimes bring up some chronic issues, especially having to do with like inflammation or anemia, anything having to do with blood, because that's what Mars rules. And then Mars is going to be going into your 7th house once it enters Scorpio on November 18th. And the 7th house is the house of partnership. So while you're having those intimate, deep conversations, while Venus is also in the 8th house as well, when Mars comes in there, it might add a little bit of feistiness to the mix, where maybe you might be having conflict over shared resources, or you might be sort of more motivated to gain greater security in your life in general. What's going on with the moons and other stuff this month, Jamie?
Well, Mercury is going to be in Scorpio all month, right there in House 7 for you, Taurus. And during its retrograde journey, it's going to be bringing up a lot of pretty intense, deep conversations that you need to have with other people. And, well, Taurus is not a sign known for being comfortable with change. In fact, Taurus would just love, love, love for it to all stay the same. And believe me, I know, because I have the moon in Taurus. And wouldn't it be nice? But no, we're not to be so lucky, especially in a month like this one. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is, may make some of us human beings a little bit sensitive, even oversensitive or paranoid about what the heck do things mean underneath the surface. And so you might find that there is somebody in your life who is just digging around, who just has to know, and is determined that there is probably some deep, dark, dirty truth underneath it all, even when, sometimes even Freud said a cigar is just a cigar. So I think that the best approach, to be graceful with this is to sit, with your partner in a warm and loving way, and really hear what they have to say, and to just soothe them as best as you can, and be flexible, be relaxed, and if change needs to happen, be open to that. That's really the best approach. You can find out a lot more about this month's Mercury retrograde period in the video that we made about that, which you'll find in the November news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology. And that could flesh out this horoscope's take on it for you. So there's a thing that I call Lesser Epiphany Day, and it's happening on on November 11th, and that's the day when Mercury and the Sun come into a conjunction with Mercury moving backwards and the Sun moving forward. So here they are, the Sun's moving forward, Mercury is moving backward, and their Mercury hops over the Sun, and it's a day of insights and ahas. It's a day when clarity can come, and as Julia was saying at one point during one of these videos, that research that you may have been doing or that somebody else may have been doing can come to a fruition, and like boom, suddenly there's the answer. That can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. Sometimes it can lead to drama if what is unearthed is something, that really was supposed to remain private. Or it can, handled deftly, lead to ever deepening intimate conversations. And really, it's up to us because we're the human beings in the matter, what we want to do with these cosmic influences. Okay, let's see. Then Mercury finishes that retrograde period on November 20th, and that will be a relief because it always is right here. And the whole thing happening in your 7th house, like I said, it's got to do with partnership. Let's talk about the moon. There's a full moon on November 12th, and that is happening in your own sign of Taurus right here, which means your 1st house. And particularly that's so if you have Taurus rising. It's somewhat so if you have the Sun in Taurus, and this will definitely apply to you. But if you have Taurus rising, then everything in this horoscope will be more meaningful. A full moon in your 1st house basically brings emotions right home to you and says that this is a month in which, you may be feeling a lot. You may be sensitive a lot, especially for the 3 days surrounding the moon. And the moon is full on November 12th, so that means the 11th to the 13th might be some pretty emotional days for you. And those days falling inside of the Mercury retrograde period and pretty close to the Epiphany day, I think all of these things ultimately are going to be connected. So there may be a lot of emotion in those clearing conversations, and you can turn it into a purging and a cleansing and a releasing and a deepening. And I definitely recommend that. And I want to say that there's a very helpful note in all of this, which is that both of the lunations, both of the moons this month, the new and the full moon, involve only harmony, no stress. So the moon has a lovely trine to Pluto and Saturn. The sun and Mercury have a lovely trine to Neptune. There's no stress for this moon, no squares. It's wonderful. So if ever there was a time when even Taurus could submit to a cathartic release and change without having a tectonic shift in the landscape, this could be it. And that could be just fine. Then there's a new moon in Sagittarius coming at the end of the month, and that's on the 26th, and that falls in your 8th house. Right there with the gathering of planets in Sagittarius. And the 8th house is the Scorpio house. So like Julia was saying, it's a house of depth, of mystery, of shared resources of all kinds, whether they're financial or emotional. And so this new moon actually brings a sparkly, bubbly, light, bright feeling of hope and optimism being in Sagittarius. And I was thinking, Julia, while you were talking, what is it about Sagittarius that makes them so attractive for Taurus? Taurus, any sign, here's a little truism for everybody out there. Whatever sign falls in your 8th house is a sign that you're just going to feel like, oh, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Oh, if I could just worship at your feet, I'd be perfectly happy. We've all got a sign like that we just want to get near to and feel so unreachable. Well, for Taurus, that tends to be Sagittarius, and that feeling of lightness, the footloose and fancy-free, adventuresome quality of Sagittarius is so inconceivable and mysterious to Taurus. And so this new moon in Sagittarius is going to bring this feeling of expansion and growth and fun and just like sheer joy. And because it's, like the other moon, it's loaded with harmony. It's got harmonious trine to Chiron and a sextile to Juno, and it's just a feel-good moon. So if anybody invites you to a party, you should go. And that's around the end of the month, so we'll be feeling it from about November 25th to 27th. And Taurus, if you've been thinking about getting a real reading from a professional astrologer this month, if you're thinking about doing that anytime soon, I would recommend, because of all of the activity that's happening in your relationship houses this month, the 7th and the 8th, I would recommend a relationship reading, maybe a lifelong love reading, which is all about your capacity for a relationship and what your needs are and how to fulfill on those needs so that you can easily turn romantic love into long-term committed relationship. Or if you're partnered already, you might consider a couples reading together with your partner so that you can have those intimate conversations on a better basis. That's all that we have for you today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to visit our Pandora Astrology channel on YouTube. You can always find the horoscopes there for the month gathered together in their own playlist, and the news videos for the month gathered together in their playlist. And you can always check out pandoraastrology.com/horoscope, which is where you'll find them too. And we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.